Hey, so welcome back. I hope you had a great weekend. I know I did. I got sick again for like the fifth time in 6 months. It's been crazy. We're going to talk about Russia and Ukraine today. You know, it feels like the rhetoric is heating up. A lot of what we're seeing around the country is heating up. And there's no sign of peace negotiations happening. And it's not because Russia doesn't have the appetite for it. It's because Zelensky will not get to the table. There's too much money involved. And unfortunately, that's not the only problem that we're going to talk about today. We have radical leftists that are out in full force. They're burning down Tesla dealerships, brutalizing people that drive Teslas. And, I hope somebody does it for me when I'm in my cyber beast. I hope somebody tries to Apollo, I'm just saying it right now. I hope somebody does. I hope somebody does. Because I can tell you what's going to happen. They're going to have to make peace with Jesus.
Yep.
All that pent-up anger is going to go somewhere. And it's not going to be good for whoever those people are. But we're going to have to talk about Tina Peters. We're going to have to talk about President Trump, Elon Musk, all the things that are happening. And then I'm going to give you my thoughts on where we're headed and what I think when it comes to the election system. Now, keep in mind, we've spent the last better part of 8 years talking about corrupt systems, and yet it doesn't seem to be on the table as being that big of a priority. So we're just going to have to talk about it. And we're going to have to talk about the people that are positions of trust, like Marco Rubio. And although I'm really excited about Pam Bondi for a lot of reasons, one of which she has a couple missteps in her career. I don't know of anybody that doesn't. And you could say you could have a significant misstep when it comes to the Epstein files. I guess she relied on and thought that people inside of her organization were going to be righteous. Turns out they weren't. But we're going to talk about all of this and more today on Untamed. Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening. And let's have conversations about what truth is. Let me tell you just how misguided America is. Someone can come to you and have an articulate conversation with you and push out a bunch of stuff, and it's like concrete. By the time you turn around, you come back, it's already dry. And you have to accept it as truth. You have to accept all the things that they say as truth. Well, I can send videos all the time. They send me a video. And this actually happened. They sent me a video of Putin, and it was a U.S. propaganda video from the late 1990s. And it talked about how Bill Clinton went to meet with Yeltsin in Russia. And he's giving this a big bear hug, and he sits down with him, and he's pointing at him. He says, that young guy you have, that Putin guy, he doesn't have democracy in his heart. And he puts his finger out at him. And then the video goes on to say, I'll find it so we can play it, because I want you to understand just how propaganda works. Look, once you can pull yourself out of its grip, the grip of the rhetoric and people telling you that this is the way it is. But this video says that Boris Yeltsin in his final days, final hours, his confidants, his closest confidants, said that he started to feel the same way about Putin. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they show us the people that were the confidants of Yeltsin? And they didn't. But the video, ink was dry by the end of the video. People sent it to me and said, see, even Yeltsin's closest confidant said that Putin is a bad man. I said, bring your receipts. Oh, you're a sympathist for the Russians. No, I'm a free thinker. I'm a guy that thinks for myself. I'm going to tell you how dangerous the news is. It's super dangerous. And it's not dangerous because you just can't distinguish between, left and right, or because sometimes you can't, but it's because you cannot distinguish between the truth and a lie, that they have melded them so closely together. And I'm going to show you an example right now. A CIA bozo on MSNBC tried to justify Americans' funding of Ukraine. And this is what he said. Did you grow up where you thought the Russians were the good guys? Question. I want to play this in full because I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you. Let's go ahead and play it. Oh, you want me to read that stuff?
I can play it first, whatever you want.
Let's play it first.
Person who's watching,
Yes,
who just heard you say Donald Trump is not standing up for Ukraine. What do you say to the person who says, well, I don't care about Ukraine. I want Donald Trump to stand up for America. What do you say to them?
I don't know where you got that. I mean, I don't have time for it.
Yes, but we hear it. We hear it.
Here's the thing. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a place where you thought the Russians were the good guys? What part of America did you grow up in where they taught you the Russians were the good guys and our allies were the bad guys? That's the flip here that we need to continue to remind people. The Russians are the bad guys. They're raping women. They're killing children. They're bombing cities. The Ukrainians are the noble good guys. In some ways, they're more American than we are over the last couple of years. And we must stand with them in the same way we stood with the allies in World War II and since this country was founded. This is not just about Ukraine. This is about the core and the integrity of American values. And that's what he's also betraying, not just Ukraine.
Who wants to tell him? Who wants to tell him? Anybody? Apollo, you want to tell him? You want to tell the CIA guy? See, he said something so succinctly, and the people on MSNBC are like this, yeah, Russia's the bad guy. And he used a psychological tactic. Like, where did you grow up in America? Did you grow up in America where Russia was the good guys? Are you serious? Who was our ally in World War II for 1,000, please? He talked about World War II, supporting our allies in World War II. Apollo, for the guys in the back of the room, please tell them who our ally was in World War II. Anyone? Do I lose you? Don't tell me you don't know. Refer to my notes. Our ally against Nazi Germany was Russia. Russia was our ally in World War II. Did you know that? They helped us fight against Nazi Germany? Did you know that they were our ally in World War II? Even conservatives would be like, I didn't know that. Because the media has crept in and says, where did you grow up where Russia was good? The Cold War stopped. It dropped. This clown is trying to tell us that the Cold War is just going on. And here's something else you don't know about World War II. And you could talk about communism. You could talk about the fall of USSR. You could talk about the Soviet Union in ways of during that cold period, it was cold. It wasn't just cold in temperature. The people that grew up during that era, they're just different. You can actually go to the Soviet Union. And I know of Russians that will look at the ground. They won't look at you. They'll walk. I have a friend of mine who's actually born in Ukraine. He is Russian. And we sit and we talk all the time, and he's like, yeah, it's just different. Like their hearts are cold, Joe. The Soviet Union suffered the most fatalities of any nation during World War II. They lost between 22 and 27 million people. That's 22 to 27 million people that did not have kids, did not grow up to see their kids or grandkids or the next generation. They didn't contribute to any society. They didn't get to see anything else. They were young men that died in a war in World War II as our ally. Russia's not our enemy. Our enemy is front and center. They're the ones that are burning down. These are terrorists that are burning down Teslas. They're the ones that are holding up interest rates and flagging commodities and interfering with what are called TRQs. Basically, it's the portion by which you You have quotas for different products. They're the ones that ordered the killing of 20 million chickens. These are demons in our own country that are our natural enemy to the United States, to the people of our country. But we got to go back to Russia. Russia accused London of being the main instigator of global conflict, quote unquote, just as they did on the eve of both world wars in the last century. Man, we have forgotten so much about history. And it's repeating itself because we're allowing really trashy, evil people. And unfortunately, those trashy, evil people now have consumed our government. Let's go ahead and play 2.
Well, in the last few minutes, there's been a further statement from the Russian authorities accusing Britain of being the main instigator of the global conflict. In a statement, a Kremlin spokesman said that the British leadership sees a threat to its interests in the promotion of dialogue between the United States and Russia on resolving the Ukrainian conflict. London fears that this will lead to the failure of the British strategy of containing Moscow. As we can see, London today, just as it did on the eve of both world wars of the last century, acts as the main instigator of the global conflict. At the same time, the British themselves obviously are again counting on sitting it out on their island. The statement from Moscow goes on to say it is time to expose them and send a clear signal to the treacherous Albion and its elites. You will not succeed.
When Rosa Parks was on the bus, was she the first one to sit in the back of the bus? Apollo? Or front of the bus? Was she the first?
Sorry, say again. Was
Rosa
she
Parks.
the first to sit in the back?
The front of the bus. Was she the first person? Was she the first person that basically said, "Nah, I'm not giving up my seat"?
Well, I honestly don't know that she was the first. She was the first that, made a movement out of it. There were probably others who got their shit rocked.
Mm-hmm. She was not the first. Matter of fact, she wasn't the second. She wasn't the fifth. She wasn't the 20th. She wasn't the 200th. She wasn't the 1000th. She wasn't the 2000th. She wasn't the 5000th. I would venture to say that she's probably not in the first 10,000 to do it. She was the straw that broke the camel's back. She was the one that stood up against it. She was the one that lived to survive it and survived the treachery that came with standing up against them. Now, the reason why I bring this up is I'm going to give you guys a lesson. I like to read a lot, and I read both sides. I've read every bit of propaganda on the left. I've even read some of the right propaganda that is just as viciously retarded as the left, frankly. I consume information at a rate that's probably not normal for a person because I like it. I like knowing more, and I like figuring out if it's true or it's false, or is it true or could it be true? And if that's true, what about this? I go down rabbit holes all the time. There's a website that somebody gave me access to today that I haven't been able to get off of. It's called Data Republican. Man, it's funny site. If you guys want to go to Data Republican, Data, not date a Republican, Data Republican, DATA Republican.com. It is, it uses AI to basically draw maps to NGOs and judges and political leaders. It's it's a very good site. Great site, actually. Amazing. I've been able to uncover some pretty ridiculous stuff using these tools, including ties to the Antifa judge in the case with Coomer and others. It's pretty crazy, actually. But I just kind of squirreled there for a minute. So I consume data. Now, I want to say this because I think it's important. If you go back 150 years, black people were owned. We said, Joe, not 150 years ago. That would have made it like in the late 1800s. Yeah, they were owned. No, slavery was abolished. Nope. You had white people fountains and black people fountains. And I'm going to just ask you the question, who decided that black people were lessers? Who made that decision? Who made the decision that they were our enemy and that they couldn't marry a white woman? Who created that rule? Was it the ethical individual? Was it did we evolve? Did black people evolve? All of a sudden we just decided that wasn't the case? Or were we actually overrun by a ridiculous evil in our governments that decided that we had to oppress black people? When did they become our enemy? You said, Joe, they weren't our enemy. We treated them like they were our enemy. And in large part, sometimes we treat them that way now. And black people, when a black person is successful, they automatically go straight to your Uncle Tom. Robert Smith, one of the most successful black billionaires in the country. Man, he could tell you stories. I sat and listened to him. I read a paper that he wrote that was unbelievable about his experiences growing up and the things that he had to overcome. And he said, Joe, how does that have to do with this? Well, it has a lot to do with it. Russia is our enemy. That clown on MSNBC said they raped and murdered and killed their own people. Man. Let's just talk about, is it Samuelson? J6er? Samsel. He was beaten, almost went blind in an eye, not once, not twice, 4 or 5 times by prison guards that beat the hell out of him, used him as a punching bag. Can we talk about all the times that people in our own country have murdered people with impunity? Can we talk about Hillary Clinton for just a minute? Now, we have actual proof of things in this country that were done against us. We have absolute proof. Absolute proof. Not, maybe, absolute proof of what the government has done to our people. They just killed 2-3 million Americans in 2020 and 2021. They made people go bankrupt because they said, if you don't put this poison in your blood, then you're fired. They took away people's careers. They incapacitated and destroyed the lives of people that didn't die because they took the vaccine. They were just incapacitated. Some to a degree that they will forever, for the rest of their life, need to sit in a wheelchair and have someone wipe their ass for them. That's what our government has done to our own people. And yet this guy gets on there and says, Russia's our enemy, and he doesn't know anything about history. That's my problem. And the media is complicit in it. It's complicit in all the behavior. It's complicit. We don't understand priorities in this country. We don't understand priorities. I wrote this morning. I was so angry. Last night, I couldn't go to sleep. I was up at 1:30, 2 o'clock. If you saw me up at 2:30 in the morning and I was beep-bopping on X and Facebook, I was like beep-bop, putting stuff up. People were like, Joe, do you ever sleep? No. Because how do you? When the obvious is right in front of us and we do everything we can to stop the obvious from being stopped. I wrote this to President Trump. I have someone coming on literally in a few minutes that'll be with us in a few minutes. We have 2 guests today. We're going to talk about election fraud. I put this up and I kept thinking about Tina Peters. I kept thinking about the people out there that are grifting and grafting and taking money from them. I'm going to take a minute really quick. I'm going to take it and say this really quick. I sent a text message to Patrick Byrne, and I was like, look, I'm really proud to have known you and the work that you've done. I'm not going to share you what the conversation was, but it was a good conversation. It was a conversation about how much he has supported Tina Peters. He is literally the One Through America project that has funded, in large part, almost all of Tina Peters' legal funds. And he has done an amazing amount of work for Tina Peters. He's been sued, he's been tattooed, but he's also suffering from cancer. He is not well. And it's hard because he's a good man. He's a really, really, really good man. And so I just wanted to thank him. So I'm going to take the minute and so you guys know the guy that never asked for any accolades, sits behind. He pipes in, beep, 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 bop, bop, bop. And everybody, you can't figure out who the real players are. The ones that put up money, not for themselves, not for self-gratification, but for others. Those are the people that I'll stand next to. So hats off to you, Patrick. I wrote this to President Trump. Mr. President, they will continue to lie with impunity. They will burn Tesla stations, manipulate the stock market, keep interest rates high, and attack the virtuous with dangerous rhetoric and violence. They will persist in the actions until you unleash decisive measures. When you initiate mass arrests for criminal crimes committed, prioritize at real Tina Peters, and personally secure her release from jail and impose real consequences on those that have harmed Americans, only then will they retreat. I understand your hesitation. You don't want to become the very thing that you're fighting against. But let's be historically realistic. When has evil ever retreated without force? Not symbolic gestures like revoking security clearances or leaving them to fend for themselves, but actual, tangible force. I struggle to comprehend why certain priorities remain unaddressed. For 4 years, you spoke truthfully about voting machines and mail-in ballots exposing a rigged system. We succeeded in freeing the January 6th defendants, yet Tina Peters remains in jail. Dominion continues to operate in elections, and judges still persecute those who stand for truth and facts about the election. This persists because the response has not struck hard enough to reverberate through the evildoers. You are wise, bold in your convictions, and a strong leader. So why does the efforts to confront this evil feel so restrained? If you want the devil to flee, you must give it a reason to run. Right now, it's a spectator sport. They watch from the sidelines, observing your decisions, regrouping, and planning their next move. They face no pressure, no need to retreat. Just as chaos favors the opposition over the people, creating chaos can force evil itself to scatter. Instead, they're collecting themselves while we lose ground. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Ephesians 6:11. We cannot wage wars against distant enemies we've never met or allow bombs to harm people we don't know, yet permit the clear devilish evil thriving here to go unchecked, almost as if it's daring you to act. We have to do something. And I'm not trying to teach the teacher. I'm not President Trump. I don't have $1 billion company. I was stupid enough to open up my mouth just before I was going to sell my company for a lot of money. And that's okay. It's okay. I don't like to spend money anyway. And I quit drinking, so I don't even know what I do at this point. We must put these people back in the hole that they came from. All right, let's move on for a minute. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about what happens when you do have decisive actions. When you send troops down to the borders, when you say, listen, you come across this border, you're probably going to get your teeth kicked in. When you have military on there that throw them around like rag dolls and say, look, you come across this border, it's going to be painful, and we're going to send you back. For 4 years, Biden claimed they didn't have the authority to shut down the border. And Trump did it in 49 days. We have a 25-year low in border crossings. This is a CBS reporter that was at the border for 4 hours. And this is what he has to say.
You spent how long, going along the
About
border?
4 hours.
And how different was this trip versus past trips
We
during
did
different
not see a
administrations?
single migrant or asylum seeker. And typically, when we go to the U.S.-Mexico border, we at least see one group of people who are trying to cross into the U.S. illegally. We did not see a single migrant. We saw soldiers, Border Patrol agents, and National Guard troops and vehicles and barriers, but no migrants.
Now, one of the things that I do believe is they are working the problem, but trying to work for the problem from a position of just kind of walk in, not going to say much, just going to do it. They turned the app. You remember the one cell phone app? That's the one that allowed them to come into the United States. Well, they just turned that app into a app called CBP Home. CBP Home. It drops today. This is absolutely insane. Let's go ahead and play this. This is awesome.
Well, breaking right now, the Trump DHS is launching a new self-deportation app for illegal immigrants, giving those in the U.S. illegally an incentive to cooperate. And Bill Melugin is live in L.A. with more. Hi, Bill.
And Dana, good morning to you. So this is pretty remarkable. The Trump administration has taken that controversial CBP One cell phone app for migrants that the Biden administration was using, and they've repurposed it into a self-deportation app that is officially launching today. And we're getting an exclusive first look at it. Take a look. The app is now called CBP Home. It allows illegal aliens in the U.S. to register to self-deport. They fill out biographical information, including their countries of citizenship, which country they plan to return to, their alien registration numbers, their contact information, and it allows them to upload photos of themselves to confirm their identity. All of it is then submitted to CBP, and they leave the country. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why would an illegal immigrant want to self-deport? Well, DHS says if they leave now, they will have the opportunity to return to the U.S. legally in the future and chase the American dream. But if they don't leave, they will be found, arrested, detained, and deported with a permanent ban on entry into the United States. In a statement to Fox News, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said in part, quote, the Biden administration exploited the CBP One app to allow more than 1 million aliens to illegally enter the United States. With the launching of the CBP Home app, we are restoring integrity to our immigration system. If they don't self-deport, we will find them, deport them, and they will never return. The Biden administration's use of the CBP One app allowed more than 40,000 migrants to come into the U.S. at a port of entry every single month. That totaled nearly 1 million migrants by the end of his presidency. President Trump terminated that app immediately upon taking office, leading to scenes like this, showing migrants dismayed at the border on the day of his inauguration as they learned their CBP One appointments were canceled and were never coming back. And DHS tells me that any migrants who had that CBP One app on their phone will see it automatically update to this new self-deportation app starting today. And DHS can also use the data from the prior CBP One registrations to track migrants for removal. So in a nutshell, Dana, Trump just took Biden's program, which was bringing migrants in, and has now totally repurposed it to get them out. We'll send it back to you.
And I started hearing some radio ads that were mirroring some of the ads from the new secretary on cable. Now they're now on radio, and they're going to be in those countries as well and targeting them so that they know not to come or to go ahead and get themselves out of the country. Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Na, 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. DHS Secretary Noem did have this to say. She also said that over 700 gang members have been deported out of the country in just a month. Here's what she had to say.
That we have, and even everywhere I've been in this country out there looking at what President Trump has done on immigration and border enforcement, the people that I meet are saying thank you. Thank you for getting these terrorists out of the country. He has deported in just 1 month.
Have you deported
22
terrorists?
known and terrorists on the terrorist watch list are out of this country now. We have almost 700 gang members that have been deported out of the country in just a month, and
Which have been redefined as foreign terrorist organizations.
well,
by the Trump
281 specific TDA members, which we know are the worst of the worst, have been taken out of this country. So everyone that has a story like Laken Riley's family or Jocelyn's family, they're extremely grateful that that won't be perpetuated amongst other families in other states.
Why? How old is Kristi Noem? I got to ask the question. She's 53. Wow. Are you starting to see a trend here, Apollo? You got Pam Bondi, looks like she's 30. You got Kristi Noem, looks like she's 30. 53 and almost 60, respectively. Do you think it's the genes?
I don't know. Maybe they just don't drink the blood, as Lynn Wood would say.
Did you just bring up Lynn Wood?
I did. I apologize.
Please don't do that.
I admonish myself.
I'm feeling it. We're gonna take a break, really quick. Snap, and then we're gonna bring in our guests. We have 2 guests today, and those guests, are my friend Mark Cook, he's gone all over the country for election security. Him and I have been on this broadcast talking about how a simple thumb drive can change the outcome of what's in a computer for an election. I don't believe that's how they stole the election. I believe they did it in a centralized way, using rootkits and other ways to infiltrate the system and suspend ballots using the adjudication process that was written by and patented by Eric Coomer. But Mark Cook's an IT expert, wide range of skills. And he was one of the first outsiders to examine the images of the voting system. He's focused entirely on analyzing the election ecosystem to identify the problems in that system. We also have Matt Meck. He's an aviator veteran, an election security analyst. Now, I haven't met Matt. Actually, I probably have. Shouldn't say I haven't met him. But he's a 20-year U.S. Marine Corps aviator veteran. Retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2006. He served in Desert Storm and Desert Shield. He was in Bosnia, and he was in Operation Enduring Freedom. He's held roles such as the Maltaz 1 instructor, operators and executive officer, deputy program manager at NavAir, and U.S. Marine Corps requirements officer for the F-35 program. He worked with the White House, DOD, and others as a tribal member and chief of staff at Guantanamo Bay, reviewing 500 plus detainees. I'm going to have a good conversation with him about this one. And was deputy branch head of aviation manpower at the Pentagon. I could go on and on and on and on. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll have my friend Mark Cook and Matt Meck join us. We'll be right back. Are you looking for monthly income without risks of stocks? Here's something you won't hear on CNBC. There's a unique way to collect royalties directly from America's most productive oil fields. No exploring, no drilling, no operating headaches. You simply collect checks month after month. The best part? You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. The Oxford Club chief income strategist, Mark Lichtenfeld, breaks down what he believes is the #1 oil royalty plan for 2025. Visit oilboom2025.com now to learn more. That's oilboom2025.com. Stop buying oil stocks and start collecting oil royalty checks instead.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF. What is DCF, you ask? We're the best damn sandwich shop in the universe. Do we sell hoagies? Well, we're DCF, and the F doesn't stand for hoagies. We got 9mm sandwiches, we got beastly baguettes, and we toast buns like no other. Looking for training on bun safety? We got you covered, and our ranges are the best place to test out your new Not sandwich. So get your buns out, cause the sun's out, and let's party! We're not actually a sandwich shop.
Are we back? We are back. We're back. Oh, well, we have 3 guests today, and I got to meet our third guest while we were on the break, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Helen before we bring her on. So Matt is there, but Helen Lampinen owns a hotel in Bisbee, Arizona. And I know what Bisbee is. It's a beautiful place. The people are amazing there. But as Mark was sitting there, and he's sitting there with Helen, I said something yesterday that everyone probably, it resonates with everyone, that we're institutional slaves. Up till 40 years ago, we didn't have property tax. Right? It was, you had fees when you registered your home, you had homesteading, and over the last 40, 50 years, they've eroded that to nothing. And now they basically own the ability to steal your home from you. You don't own anything. The state of Colorado owns 100% of the properties in the state. You're like, no, I own it. No, you don't. Because if you don't pay the taxes, they get to steal it from you, which means you rent it from the government. In many states, if you owe $2,000 on your property, and they foreclose on your property, they sell it for $200,000. They get to keep all of the proceeds, not just the proceeds directly related to what you owe. And how this affects the most vulnerable among us, the older population, is that they are the ones that lose it at a absorbent rate. They lose their homes. But there are more stories about people in every state that have over 250,000 people a year have their homes stolen by the government. It's institutional slavery. So Helen is now fighting a tax bib coming in and trying to steal her business. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as well, but let's just have all three, we have to stick together. We have to come up with a model that we can stick together and recognize that it is them versus us. So with that said, I would like to welcome Mark and Matt and Helen. Welcome.
Hello.
All right. So elevator pitch. I get 2 minutes for me. All three of you. Mark, you're last.
Okay, Helen, go for it.
So 17.
Her audio is really bad. Can you fix that audio for me? Mark, you're an IT guy, bro. How is it you can't?
I'm right here. Speak up a little bit so we hear you.
Yeah, yell at us. Get closer.
Okay. Let me adjust one setting on here real quick here.
It might be trying to pick it up on your audio, not her audio. Are you in the same room?
Yeah, we're right next to each other.
All right, that's why.
Yep. Okay, give that a try now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I got the Copper Queen Hotel in 2017, And it's the longest continuously operating hotel in the state of Arizona. It opened in 1902. And when I got it, it was probably at its lowest point, you know, because Bisbee is a town that has a copper mine in it. And the mine closed in the 1970s. And the hotel itself was owned by the Phelps Dodge Mining Company. So it is an antique Edwardian era hotel, and it was a very luxurious hotel for its time. But over the years, it had got in a rundown state. And when I got it in 2017, like literally the TVs in the rooms were still the box type, and all the antiques had been taken out, and it had, veneer peeling Motel 6 furniture in it. And so what I did is I tried to have been this whole time trying to restore the building. But in 2020, when they came in to shut down my bar and restaurant, now they didn't shut the hotel down, but Bisbee is in a very remote corner of Arizona. It's actually southeast, an hour and a half southeast of Tucson. And it's, in the very bottom right corner of the state. And so it's a purely tourist town, it's a really quaint shops on Main Street, all from turn of the century buildings and stuff, antique shops. It's really cute little town. And the town itself is a National Historic Landmark, as is the hotel itself. And so, people just stopped coming to Bisbee during COVID. Like everybody's business suffered. And people just didn't want to come all the way to Bisbee for that. So I had to shut the hotel itself down for a couple months. And then even when they allowed me to start reopening everything again, the people just still weren't coming for a really long time. And, although we got a little bit of help from the COVID stuff from the SBA and all of that, it just hit us so hard that we've never really fully made a comeback. And, I was fine before we were going to make it, but, now I owe more money because of the COVID loans that I have, and I'm unable to pay, some of my sales tax and stuff like that. And, my property tax is $50,000 a year. Like that I have to pay $25,000 here sometime this month. Just to stay, because if I don't pay that property tax, my lender starts coming after me, and they still have their hand out for their $20,000, but I have to pay them every month, and it's just really hard to pay all the bills and pay all the people and keep everybody employed, and right now I have it listed for sale just because I need to pay all these tax bills. And, if COVID had never happened, we would be fine. There would be no problem. But because of the forced shutdown of the country, and scaring everybody with this, as well, we just were never able to really fully recover. So it's been tough.
Well, let's start here, because I have so many other things to talk about. One, I'm going to come visit you. So my father-in-law was a earth rapist, AKA a mining engineer. So hence the fact that he had a place in Bisbee. And I think it was like 82 that they finally decommissioned the mines, right? Was it 82 they did? Sorry, I know too much about Bisbee. I shouldn't know this much about Bisbee. But quite an amazing town. It actually is a really amazing town. So two things. One, I'm going to come there and say hi to you. My son is in Phoenix. So I'm just going to make it a round robin trip, come hang out with you down at your place. The other thing I'll say is we have a lot of people that listen to us. And Mark, we should set an event up at the Copper Queen Hotel. What do you think?
I think that'd be a great idea.
Everybody in the comments, I'm paying attention. Would you guys meet me for a Work the Problem event at the Copper Queen Hotel in Bisbee, Arizona? Let me see what you guys have to say. Let me see. Come on.
I think that's what patriots do, is help each other out.
Yeah. Well, I'd do it anyway, just because it's actually, I was looking it up online while you were talking. I think we could have some fun.
I want to stay in the haunted room. Which haunted room is that? Which one?
Well, there's several haunted rooms. So we have Billy's room, and Billy's a little boy that drowned in the San Pedro River. And so we have a room dedicated to him because his spirit will haunt that room. And if you leave candy out, he'll in the morning the wrappers will be there only. So, and then we have our Julia Lowell room, who was our lady of the night back in the day. She entertained the miners of the town, and you know, she had a John, I guess, that she fell in love with, and he wouldn't return her love, so she killed herself outside the room in the hallway. So we have a lot of ghosts there. We have the smoking man and several others. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of fun. My daughter Jenna does the ghost tours there.
Have you set it up yet? Have you done any setups where you get people and you kind of prank them a little bit with the ghost tour, or does it do it itself?
I mean, we can set that up.
I'm wondering how many of those ghosts have been voting in Arizona's elections?
Oh, probably all of them. You know, that's exactly where probably why Carrie, or what's her name?
Katie Hobbs
won.
All right, so let me just tell you what I got here. I got Cannonball 67 says, "Hell yeah, brother." Then you got,
right.
Yes. You in? I'm in. Yes, 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 yes. I'm in Tucson, not that far. I think that's a yes. I think we're setting it up. I think we're doing it. We're having an event at the Copper Queen Hotel. Hey, get on that, Apollo. I know you needed something else to do.
Yeah, we should be broadcasting right from the Copper Queen.
I agree.
A beautiful remodeled dining room. Just a few short months after I got the hotel in 2017, we had a catastrophic flood underneath the kitchen floor, and the insurance stepped in. And so while it was down for 6 months, we remodeled our dining room too. So I don't know if that picture is being broadcast, but that's our dining room that we remodeled. And we stripped the paint, 100 years of paint off of those columns, and it's fine dining. It's really nice. Our restaurant's doing better now, finally. But I mean, on the day they came to shut me down, they had just delivered $15,000 worth of food, and we couldn't return it or anything, so we just lost that money. It was really sad.
They heard you gave food away, right?
Yeah, we gave most of the food to the homeless shelter in Bisbee. So yeah, and different employees and stuff.
It is weird that they have such a robust homeless shelter. That is kind of weird. It's been like that for years. So
yeah,
anyway,
they have people
the stuff
there
that I shouldn't know about Bisbee, Arizona, but I do. So you have a tax issue now. It's pretty significant, and they're putting a whole bunch of pressure on you right now.
Yes. Yeah, the state of Arizona, I owe a lot in sales tax. I'm being forced to pay the property tax, because if I don't pay that $50,000 property tax bill, my lender comes down on me like crazy. And, they won't work with me. They didn't give me one single break. Like, I talked to different people before that, during COVID, like some lenders at people's houses, they even told me, oh, my lender said I don't have to make a payment for a year, and they'll put everything on the back of the loan and all kinds of stuff like that. My lender did nothing for me. Like, they were mean to me.
They want to take the property. It sounds like the state, this is just a big land grab is what it sounds like it's turning into.
And now they're like excited because I've been renovating the property. It's much nicer than it was when I first got it. Now it's filled with antiques, and we've raised a lot of the ceilings, because some dummy came along in the 1940s and put drop ceilings everywhere. And so, we've been working slowly on like one room at a time, and one hallway, in particular, the third floor we got done also just recently, and it had a drop ceiling, and I was like, knock that ugly thing down. And they restored the Victorian height, and I put chandeliers everywhere. It's just beautiful now. we still have some of our rooms that we need to restore still, but we're getting there, you know. And the second floor landing is quite beautiful as well. That was one of the first things that got restored. So it's a really beautiful property, and I really just want to see place come back. I don't know. I have some crazy drive inside of me. I don't know what it is. You know, the old owners were like, just put a car clamp on that pipe and, you know, sweep that under the rug and throw that away. And for me, it's more like, you know, I have a vision and I really want to see it be restored. So I think I'm a little crazy for it.
I think that's what our country feels like to me, is that we haven't been taking care of our country either. And I think we need to clean our entire country up, our government up.
Absolutely.
And I think you get the same mentality with that hotel as well.
Yeah. And I really like that President Trump is doing this thing where he's trying to make beautiful architecture again. And he, you know, because everything is so cookie cutter down, you know, nowadays, you know, made in China and the cheapest possible this and that. It's like, hey man, if you want to go stay at a Motel 6 or something, go ahead. But you know, if you want to step back in time and really feel history of what it was like when people were able to make great art and, you know, make beautiful things, and people weren't worried about property tax and just having a roof over their head, food to eat, you know, people are really struggling in this country. And I've seen that a lot, you know, because I've employed a lot of people in that town. I took a look back and I've been over 1,000 people since I've owned the property. And so I've got to meet and understand and know everybody's problems a lot. And it's really sad. People are really suffering, you know. I got lucky, even though, you know, I'm struggling and I might lose everything right now. At least I got to have a good run for my kids and everything else. Sorry. And so I'm grateful for that. But for the other people, like, you just see everybody like, you know, until President Trump came around and we're doing this whole thing where we're taking our country back. I really don't see, you know, that's the only hope I see for these people, honestly. You know, we got to get our currency in order in my mind.
All right, so I'm going to switch gears here for a minute because I want to get to this election stuff. Not that I don't want to talk about Copper Queen Hotel. We'll have an event there. We'll figure it out probably after the hot season, because it's going to get really hot there. It's going to get hot.
It's really nice and busy right now, you guys. The weather's like San Diego.
For a little bit. Don't false advertise though. We get close to June and it'll be like hot.
We're not high. We're up in the mountains, the Mule Mountains, so the weather's cooler.
Sometimes. Alpine District. I've been caught there when it wasn't.
Okay.
I got a lot to talk about today, and you know, I got a ton of questions. Mark, Tina Peters still in jail.
Yep, she is, and she needs to be out immediately.
She's still in jail, and the election was the number one thing we talked about for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Not 4 years, 8 years.
8 years.
We've been talking about this when President Trump was in, that it wasn't legitimate. Like, they knew that they cheated back 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They just didn't cheat enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you had the whole 99% and 1%. 99%, they're just going to convince us that they won, and they couldn't cheat enough. That just shows you how popular President Trump was. Something that's a problem for 8 years. We're 49 days in the presidency. Tina Peters is still in jail. Nobody could argue that it's not kabuki theater. And yet it's not important enough to go gangster on the governor of Colorado and the Secretary of State, who is a big fat pig. It's not important enough to go gangster on those people. I mean, help me. Work this for me.
Yeah, I think it's coming. I do think it's coming. The people in Colorado, if they really truly think they're going to get away with destroying Tina Peters, destroying her life, destroying her as a person, and everyone that cares about her, all for being brave enough to stick her nose out and actually protect the votes of the citizens she took an oath to serve, I think they have another thing coming. I think it's really stupid, and I think it's very dangerous for them to continue playing this charade while they're really attempting to kill Tina Peters. She's 69 years old, almost 70. She's got 2/3 of her lungs left after battling and surviving cancer. She's lost her Navy SEAL son a few years ago. She's lost her husband. She's lost her father. They are trying to kill her. And now she's got COVID in jail while she's eating apples and peanut butter and bread, because she can't even find a healthy diet in this place. They are trying to kill her just to try to punish her for saying something, for whistleblowing, and using her and her punishment as a deterrent to every other election official in the country, just to try to keep them quiet as well. And there are election officials all over that I've spoken with, and they have told me the same thing. They don't want to be Tina Petered, but they do know there's a problem, but they're too afraid to stick their nose out as a result of it. And that's
let's just say it. Let's call it what it is, though. Like, we have all the evidence that shows the election fraud in 2020. All of it to show the election fraud in 2022. Arizona is probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
And they want us to walk past it. But I want to read this to you. This is Laura Logan, who is grabbed an email. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the way that this email was written and who wrote it, I can't support it, because the only place you could go to support Tina Peters is tinapeters.us. That's the only place that you should give money. That's the only time, that's the only money that ever gets to her legal defense. Okay? But I'm not going to discount the message, which is this is 100% true. Laura Logan says, serious update on Tina Peters, the former WEC of the former WEC of state, locked up for doing her job and exposing fraud in the 2020 election. Tina Peters is here, and here's the email. Tina Peters is rapidly declining. This is a very serious email I'm sending you today. Please read to the end. As you have begun hearing, our legal team has filed a writ of habeas corpus on February 19th to free Tina Peters from her current jail cell in Larimer County, Colorado, where she awaits her appeal. Very reasonable request, as she is not violent, had zero criminal history, zero, like not even a speeding ticket. Did not even have a speeding ticket. So I got ahead of myself. Colorado court was dragging their feet on looking at our writ. During that time, a very troubling report of mistreatment of Clerk Peters has been filed in a formal declaration by Linda Good, the paralegal assisting our Colorado attorney, John Case.
Yep.
Most recently, on February 19, 2025, while I was with Ms. Peters reviewing some documents, 8 guards descended on her pod wearing their black latex gloves. Ms. Peters said, "This isn't going to be good. They're going to raid someone." Deputy knocked on the conference room door and told me that we needed to end our visit. I asked if I could wait in the lobby and come back if we had not finished our work, and I was told it would have to be a while and I should come back in the morning. Then they proceeded to raid the pod, including Ms. Peters' cell. Ms. Peters had no contraband. They removed Ms. Peters from the pod in handcuffs and brought her down to booking, where she had undergone indignity of a strip search. Found nothing, nor did they first. 2 times they strip searched a 69-year-old nonviolent first-time offender with no history of drugs. No other inmate was brought in the handcuffs or strip searched during the raid on the pod. I'll find the timing of these 2 incidents at the Larimer County Jail coincidental, as she had recently filed a writ of habeas corpus. She has no conflict or incidents with any of the guards prior to the filing. And then twice in 1 week, she is written up, threatened with lockdown, raided, and strip searched. My overall observation of Ms. Peters was in a rapid decline physically and mentally due to her imprisonment. Not only is her treatment shocking, it appears Larimer County Public Defender Kelsey Tebow was working with other inmates to monitor Clerk Peters in the jail. What's going on in this place? Clerk Peters is 70 years old. She is being submitted to the most obscene treatment and exposure in ways beyond comprehension. We're calling on the U.S. Attorney Bishop Grewell not to delay investigating this matter. He has been swift to open the inquiry, and now we need action. Last week, a statement of interest was submitted to the court by the Assistant U.S. Attorney Yakov Roth to determine if there was corruption in the prosecution of Clerk Peters. They are also investigating whether this is politically motivated from the onslaught.
Disgusting.
First of all, the person that let me just put this out there. The person that's put this email out there is not the person that hired the attorneys, nor is the person paying for the attorneys. I want to be really clear on how this was written. It was written in such a way that the person that wrote this acted as if those attorneys were working for him, and that's not true. So I just want to be really clear, not true. And I'm going to put my foot down in the middle of this. You guys can have your conversations with those people. Everyone that got that email knows what I'm talking about. It is not his attorneys. And it is, in the way it was written, the person that pays for all of the legal fees, or 99.99% of it, other than the people that are out there, is a guy named Patrick Byrne. Go ahead, Mark.
It's disgusting reading that, knowing what's going on to Tina, talking to the people that are close to her. I was just up there, I think last week, week before, speaking outside of the Larimer County jail, where they're actually holding Tina Peters right now, and watching what they are doing to her just as a deterrent and a punishment, but mostly a deterrent to every other election official. How can you do your job as an election official if you aren't allowed to even think for yourself? If you aren't allowed to ensure the accuracy of those systems and serve your citizens according to the oath that you took? If the state controls everything you do, and to make it to a point where you can't even question it, and if you do question it, there's a risk of you going to jail or prison for all these years, who is ever going to want to run elections again? And I think that's probably what their motives are. They probably don't care. They don't really want election officials anyway. Election officials are a temporary thing. They had election officials that used to conduct, or at least teach the citizens on how to run their own elections. Then the computers and everything show up. It starts to push the citizens away, but it's also pushing our election officials away indirectly. And all they're doing now is plugging equipment in and hiring the vendor to program their system. And then when something goes wrong, they call the vendor again, or they call the agency that runs it for the vendor. They don't have real control over their own elections. If they want to figure something out, they have to just pull a report from the system. They can't look inside the black box. They have no idea what's going on inside the black box. So all the, and no offense, but all the little old ladies that used to run our elections for all these years that we trusted, they are intimidated by these computers. They don't want anything to do with them. They're quitting because they're intimidated by the technology. So they're not quitting because we just can't find people to do it. We are pushing people out. The technology is pushing all these good American citizens out. And the powers that be, the cabal, the election industrial complex, is perfectly okay with that, because they don't actually want real American citizens running the elections anyway, because that means someone might actually catch their manipulation. So they would rather all our elections be run and conducted by them. So they're perfectly happy with pushing all these good people away, scaring the rest of them, putting them in jail, because ultimately they just want everyone picking up their cell phone and voting on their cell phone. And they're going to tell everyone how great it is and how it's the platinum standard and how you can watch everything and pull up all your data, but we're still just playing a stupid video game at that point. And then we're completely removed from the elections, the citizens are, and all our election officials are. Then what hope do we have? We have lost all our freedom at that point. So it's easy to find out how to fix this. We just follow the breadcrumbs back. It's simple. Decentralize our elections, put them back in the hands of the citizens, make them totally transparent, count the dots ourselves. We make sure that every person that fills the dots out is an eligible voter in that county, and we allow our county representatives that we elect to actually do that. Bring it all back to paper, reduce our attack surface, and eliminate all the attack vectors there in the system to something that's absolutely easily manageable, and then use technology for the right reasons. We don't use technology to obfuscate and make things more complex. What we do is use technology for good. We use technology to provide more transparency to this system and more ways to verify it. We don't hide things with technology. So it was the improper application of technology. It's not the technology itself. There's my rant.
How do we get the information related to what we're talking about? And Matt, I'm going to give you some chance to speak a little bit. How do we get the information related to all of the fraud and all the things that we know about the election system? How do we get that information in such a way that we can get Tina Peters out, but let people put a serious light on it? because everywhere we turn, they manipulate their way around facts and then make up stuff like time drift and all sorts of crazy stuff to explain away what is right in front. Like, we can see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it. And we mathematically, we've proven it with Ed Solomon. We've proven it every which way to Sunday that all the elections are fraudulent. How, going through all of that process, are we here and have a judge give Tina Peters 9.5 years and no one is looking at it? No one is looking at it. They're saying, oh, we probably need to look at whether or not there was persecution in this that rose to the level of corruption. It's obvious to anyone. So how is it we're still sitting here 49 days later?
Okay.
You want me to answer that? Joe,
yeah. Hit me, Matt. Hit me.
It's frustrating. And we have met. You've been on our Friday calls a couple times. I run that for our coalition. Brought Patrick Byrne over to you at the CSPOA event here at the 800 Hotel. So you can interview Patrick. It was a great interview.
Oh, I do remember that. Okay, sorry. That's why I stopped after I said I hadn't met you and said I probably have.
And you know, I've become friendly on good terms, speaking frequently with Pat McSweeney, one of Tina's attorneys. I know some things have been working in the background, and he talked with him as recently as, I think Friday. Tina had talked with us, and she was seeing much better spirits, cries of joy, not so much cries of sadness, because she knew we loved her, cared for her, and we were trying to do everything we possibly know how to do to help her. And she knew that, and she made a comment that I think is nice, that, you know, she knows who's doing what and who's really doing what, and it resonated with the folks that she was talking with. And I don't know how, save for President Trump doing something with an executive order, I would say my opinion from a national security standpoint, I don't know how the hell we make the people in Colorado feel the steel of justice and accountability, not vengeance, but justice and accountability. And we're trying, Joe, as best we can, and getting all the right information we can to the folks who now are evidently talking and adjudicating what they're going to do. And certainly we don't think it's going fast enough.
Okay, so, but I mean, Matt, they say the wheels of justice turn slowly. What could be more important? We let the Jan 6ers out literally the day that President Trump got into office. Why would we let a 69-year-old
get the ability to actually pardon them?
So there is a way that he could go in, that they could go in and throw their muscle around and say, we are calling for the release. You can release her into federal custody. We want to question her, and we're going to use her as a witness against everything else. And they could pick her up at the Laramie County Jail, and they could take her and put her on some confinement. Doesn't matter where it is at this point. And they could put her under confinement. They could question her, and they could detain her in their way in order to get to the bottom of it. And then use that information for such to go after people like Jenna Griswold and Jared Polis and other people, Phil Weiser, Chris Beal. I mean, I could name them all off. We'd have all that information. Why is it that hasn't been done? Why is there no appetite for it? I mean, they should go complete gangster in this instance, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I again, from what limited amount I know, I would say there's ample evidence for the declaration of a national security issue, and the federal government, again, my understanding, I would directly take custody of Tina as a witness in something that, because of what she was able to do, and the threat is still ongoing, get her out because she has unique and specific information. Her health is at risk. Pull her out, pull her into federal custody. End of discussion. That's what I would do, Joe.
All right. Whew.
And that has been, I'll be honest. I mean, I text with Bannon. I told him something to that same akin. He was frustrated in January 28th. He called me about 5:30 in the morning Pacific time. Frustrated that things weren't working fast enough. He said, you have the authority to speak on my behalf. What's happening? Help us get things done. And I wrote up a little paper, taking inputs from Mark and Professor Clements and others, and kind of gave a three-pronged approach. And one of them was what I just talked about, Joe, was exactly that. Based on what we have been told, I haven't been able to verify it independently, that President Trump and Elon have been briefed on unequivocal foreign interference in the 2020 election. With that in mind, why not execute federal authority under national security construct and take Pina out as a germane witness?
It'd be pretty easy to do. It would take no time at all. And as I said before you guys got on, or maybe you heard me say it before, I talked about a letter to President Trump on the fact that evil will not capitulate to anything without force. There's never a time that evil will just say, "Oh, you caught me."
Yeah,
I mean,
evil's all in at this point.
It doesn't. Right now, it's a spectator sport. I mean, we're literally in the spectator sport phase. We're in the phase now where they can get away with whatever they're going to get away with. They sit on the sideline. It might get a little hot, but they can battle plan because there's no force applied. There's no tangible force applied. There isn't people getting their heads knocked in. Nothing is happening that would lead them to believe that they have anything to worry about right now. And that we just keep walking and trying to be good people. And that being good people has left us vulnerable to what can only be described as absolute corruption.
I do know, Joe, talking with Pat McSweeney several times, his number one priority, his number one, and the emotion he has for Tina is genuine and palpable. He wants to get her out. I don't care how, we just get her out. Then we work on the other things, as far as fighting for legally appeals, but get her the hell out of there. That to him is his number one goal. And I know he's, back in the day, he worked in the Nixon White House. He worked with Bork. He worked in the Justice Department. He's no neophyte to the Justice Department. So I know he knows how to navigate that. And I think he is, but that is his number one goal from counsel for her. One of the counsels for her is to get her the hell out of there. First and foremost.
Okay, let me be the arbiter of reality here for a minute. Okay, everyone that has told me that you have to walk the process, DOJ, do this, knock on your head, rub on your belly, the typical politics you have to go through in the DOJ. Every single time that you play the game that way, they get more of their pound of flesh. And they stretch it out as long as they can. So they know what the outcome is here. They know the outcome is that Tina Peters gets out. But if they can get just a few more days of their flesh out of Tina, they're going to continue to do it. When Soleimani was trying to kill Americans, and he's the Iranian that was a mob, they dropped a bomb right on his forehead. President Trump decisively said, "Yeah, we're not going to let this murderer get out of our sights this time. Take him out." Right? And he did something so quick and decisive. And here we have a 69-year-old. Look, I don't question anything about President Trump. I think he's the smartest, boldest, most courageous man that I think I've ever met. And he's smart from the standpoint of business sense, but also understands the political sphere as well. That's a very difficult, those are two different things. But I mean, Matt, I got to tell you, I don't want any legalese. I want demanded action. I want them to do what's right. I want people to stop thinking that we have to sniff the ass of the rhinoceros just one more time. Just go one more time around. Right? Tina Peters broke down on the phone with me for 45 minutes, literally crying the entire time. Had to call me back crying. Just last week. I mean, what you just saw in this email is nothing compared to the conversations I've had to have with Tina Peters. So, I mean, Matt, isn't it time that we stop saying, all right, I know they're doing the best they can, and say, fuck all, maybe you're not. Maybe they're not doing the best they can. Maybe this idea that what they're saying is just, it's not enough. Like we can recognize it. We're not lawyers. Are you a lawyer, Matt?
Hell no.
But we have common sense, right? And when we wanted to go in, and when our military had to go in and execute, we had a plan. Battle ready on that plan. We made sure that we practiced it over and over and over again, so that when the mission went in, it went off smoothly. We've had plenty of time to figure this out. And Tina Peters, 69, she's not getting any younger. She's done what she's supposed to. Is this for show? Is this theater? Are we going to put our hands up in the air if we get her out on parole? Is that a win when they have their claws still in her? Or do we just stand up and say, you know what? Wrong is wrong. You could read the judge's decision in the deal and what he did to deny her defenses. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't even have to be you don't have to be an attorney at all and figure out what they did to her was wrong. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated, and I feel like we talk about it, we're not being about it. And I'm really upset about that because the person that suffers right now as a result of that is Tina Peters, no one else.
Yep. And she continues to suffer every single day. It's absolutely disgusting. People are tyrants. They know they're tyrants, and they don't care. They don't care. They're not going to stop until they're stopped.
And Joe, from what I heard, wasn't in the room talking to Pat on the phone, he echoed that Trump's guidance was get her out. That was his commander's intent. Get her out.
Brother, you're a Marine.
Let's translate it down.
What does get her out mean?
Get her out of jail. Get her out now. Get her out.
What does that mean? You're a Marine. What does that mean? By all. As
a Marine, that would mean for me to go storm the building, neutralize anybody, get her safely, and extract her.
And so, but they're not doing that, right? So you have this deep state thing that's happening. I'm not telling her to storm the. Please don't storm the building. Everyone, do not storm the building.
I'm saying that was hypothetical. No, and as Pat McSweeney said, he said we are better than these people who do this. We are not evil. We do not fight evil with evil.
Hold on, Matt. Matt, I've heard that. I've heard the saying. I hear it in church every week. Let's pray. Let's let God in.
I'm saying don't be evil. Don't do evil to evil. Fight evil with righteousness good. And good can be freaking badass.
So good can be bad. You just said it. Good can be badass. But good, by the way, sometimes forceful is violent. And what they're doing to Tina is violent. Right? So I'm going to tell you right now, there is a time to lay down the sword. There is a time to pick up the sword, but I will not turn that cheek when somebody raises up a sword against my brothers and sisters.
I hope to see this, and I've talked to some folks that are in our coalition who have been moved around into different positions now, and they would love to use this, which was used against Tina, and a warning shot against the other election officials, flip it on its head, and now use it against these folks who persecuted Tina unrighteously.
Huh?
I feel like every time we turn around, it's just more and more. It's more and more. It's like they're training us to be helpless instead of looking at it from the standpoint of working the problem. Work the problem, solve the problem. Work the problem. You don't work the problem, you can't solve the problem. You work the symptom, you will continue to service that problem. You want to solve the problem, you got to get at it. You got to get after that problem, and that's not what I see them doing right now.
And I would say, Joe, I respectfully ask people, go to Trump's Truth Social and let him know how you feel. Say, sir, hey, Brian Glenn, Natalie Winters, ask President Trump a question. Now that DOJ has engaged in this case, what is the update? I would, sir, respectfully, ask him about Tina Peters. Ask him a question about Brian Glenn, Chanel Rion, anybody who's there, PPN, Untamed. Ask Trump when you're in a room with him, what about Tina Peters?
Yeah, that's a legitimate question. We need to keep the pressure on. We have to resolve.
Let's put this up here if we shall. I think we should. Here's the sheriff. The sheriff that's allowing this to happen in his deal. This is John Fayen. He was supposedly a Republican. Let me just give you his phone number so you guys can all call this sheriff. This is John Fayen. Let's go ahead and put up his, if you can go all the way up. Phone number is 970-498-5100. He's got a couple years left. There's the address, email. I don't have the email for him. Maybe we can get the email for him as well. That's John Fayen, Feyen. Call up and talk to him. Everyone, just call 970-498-5100. 498-5100. Just blow up their phone lines in the non-literal sense, please. Okay. It's tough that I have to say the non-literal sense, just so we're clear. I have to preface everything with,
well, it is you, Joe. So yes, you do.
I don't know. I mean, look, I'm just saying. Okay, what's your? I just want both of your thoughts on this. I got a couple more questions for you. What are your thoughts on the Make Elections Secure Again Act?
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great start. I love the MESA, and I think it's appropriately named as well.
Yeah, Mesa, as in Mesa County,
as in.
You know, Joe, I know several folks who helped Sessions and his team with this. They wanted it to say more, but they're not unhappy with where it's at. They said it's a good trajectory.
How long is that trajectory going to go? I mean, for those of you that don't know, I wrote a bluff. It was 7 pages on my 782 pages. 7 pages of this is what you have to do. And if it's not done in 90 days, Matt, I did the math. If this does not pass and they don't do something in the first 90 days, 2026 is going to be a bloodbath for the Republicans.
I agree, Joe. I would say Congress can't even figure out to get toilet paper in 90 days, but maybe an executive order can be done in that time period.
Yeah, if we don't start immediately moving our elections back into control of the people, we are going to lose this country forever. It's as simple as that. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I'm traveling from state to state and county to county. I know what needs to be done, and it needs to be done immediately. I'm not asking for a way for anyone to manipulate elections. I'm not asking for anything strange. I'm just asking, in fact, demanding, warning people, if we do not move our elections back into the hands of the citizens of this country to allow them to ensure the integrity of their own elections, count their own ballots, ensure that people that are voting are actually eligible voters, we will forever lose this country. And the clock is ticking. We do have about less than a year to make some massive changes, and we do need to start down that path immediately. And so I hope people are starting to pay attention, because before we know it, it's going to be 26 and it's going to be 28. This is our last shot. God gave us this opportunity right now, this small window. We got our foot back in the door, more like a big toe back in the door. We need to take it. Put elections back into the hands of the people of the United States of America. It's that freaking simple. And then stuff like this with Tina Peters would not be happening. We wouldn't have people questioning our elections, because our elections should be so transparent. No one needs to question them, because if they did, they could just look at it and count the damn ballots themselves. End of story. We should be spending 8 years trying to figure out what the results of our elections are. This is stupid. This is absurd. We are living the symptoms, the consequences of manipulated elections. This is exactly what we would see if they're being manipulated. A bunch of people that are manipulating them, blocking the citizens from being able to have control of or see them. It's so simple. The solution, put them back in the hands of the people. And at some point, if someone else doesn't make that happen, the people are going to be left with no choice but to take back control of their own elections. Otherwise, we're going to lose our country.
Matt, you're a lieutenant colonel. Are you a conspiracy theorist?
No, I'm a truth finder.
Did you wake up one day and say, you know what I want to do? I want to put on a tinfoil hat and I want to subvert the country that you served for over 20 years?
Joe, I first woke up to this with Fast and Furious. I briefed in front of House Oversight. I briefed in front of Senate Judiciary. And I knew there were bad folks in government at that time. And then actually here in Vegas, actually where our whole coalition started, here in the Trump Hotel, 1 May of 2021, with Christina Caramo. I'll say that again, Christina Caramo, our sister, Mark Fincham, Sonny Borelli, Rachel Ham, Jim Marchant, Doug Mastriano, Patrick Byrne was here, and a whole host of others. I woke up on elections, the Sunday after the Tuesday election, here at the Venetian Hotel in Vegas, when I realized the RNC wasn't doing shit.
So you're not a conspiracy theorist. You served your country for over 20 years. You've been demonized. They've wrote bad stuff about you. You've stood up. Christina Caramo, another person that's just been absolutely demonized for doing the right things.
Yeah. Joe, a lot of us who were in the military, and Phil Waldron's consider like a brother, like I consider Mark. You know, we did things for our country on behalf of our interests to other countries, and we saw this looked eerily familiar, but the guns were pointed this way, and I woke up pretty quickly, pretty damn fast about how the elections were not what we thought we were. More of the illusion system, not the election system.
Yeah. There's a lot to go over. I know I get really passionate about this deal, not for me, but more for other people. I've spent the last 4 years fighting alongside a lot of people, and frankly, I've had a seat at a lot of tables. I've been able to see a lot of things, and I'm kind of disgusted by the lack of basic maturity that this entire thing has created. This chaos. Chaos always favors the op, never favors the people. And now we're coming out of the ether after 4 years, and I finally feel like we have our bearings straight. Like we know who's good, who's bad, for the most part, right? I guess, you know, some people are just quirky. So you got to say that some people are quirky, and some people are semi-retarded, and there's a lot of good people in the middle, though, that mean well, that just, frankly, that don't have any social skills, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But as you get through this after 4 years, and we now look at President Trump is in office, we got him in that place. There's a lot of sacrifice that happened over the last 4 years. Some people lost their lives. Tina Peters went to jail. Other people got slandered, lost their companies, lost their businesses. I mean, I can go down the line. Mark, I mean, he's a guy that literally had to set aside his businesses in order to go get in an RV and travel around. Then that RV almost fell apart when I'm on the road.
I hope it's going to last. I'm just about ready to jump back on the road here in about 2 months, and I'm going to pray that God keeps this thing together for the next 2 years. I will be on the road.
But I mean, let's look at this from the perspective of understanding information, right? If we're in information warfare right now, the only way to stop that is to turn off the funnel, to stop the radical left from being able to lie, stop legislative actions from lying, talking about the fact you're trying to strip Medicaid, strip Social Security, things that aren't actually happening, that aren't true, that aren't in the bills, that aren't being written in anywhere. And there's got to be a point by which people are held responsible for the fact that they're lying. And so as we look at all of that, Matt, in the military, if you lie, there's a code of conduct you're held responsible for it. Why do we not have that same code of conduct when it comes to legislative action and or the ability for legislators to lie with impunity? They absolutely are. And judges to do what they've done to J6ers and others around the country. The rot of our nation is in the judiciary.
We should. And in the UCMJ, you would. And I'll quote the philosopher Bill Murray, back when Saturday Night Live was actually worth a crap. And he said, isn't it interesting how if you lie to the government, it's perjury, but if the government lies to you, it's politics.
Yeah. Well, and it shouldn't be politics. It should not be legalized. Like, you shouldn't be able to legally lie to the American people. You shouldn't be able to stand up things that aren't true. There should be some consequences for it. You should not be immune from being held responsible for your actions and the words that you state, but they are. There's actually a law that protects them and shields them from you going after them for lying. So one politician can't sue another politician. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It is ridiculous. Yeah. Politicians, if they lie, that should be considered treason right there. Politicians lying to their citizens, the servants, the public servants lying to those that they serve should be treason.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm going to give you last thoughts here. Matt, thank you for all the work that you've done. I'm literally looking through emails and stuff and some of the stuff that I have that I've gotten from you, either from you or from others. So thank you for the sacrifice you've done over the last 4 years. And frankly, we don't get enough accolades. Mark doesn't get any accolades. He's got to get back on the road. So we don't ever give Mark any credit for anything. So it's just kind of
thank you for what you've done. I mean, you're one of the folks I look up to in this whole crazy world we find ourselves in.
Yeah. Well, if there's anything you need from me, I'm here. Yeah, I mean, it's it takes a village. And I think one of the greatest parts about America is that there was only one Paul Revere in the story. But there were thousands of Paul Reveres when we won our independence. And it's the ones that actually are willing to say, look, I did my part and go back to what they did before and love on the people in their community. Those are the people that get my respect. Those are the people that I want to share, you know, a bourbon with. I quit drinking, so I can't have a bourbon, but club soda. And so I do, you know, and there are many. There are many. There are the Patrick Burns of the world that frankly is, you know, we haven't told his story enough of the things that he's done. And we haven't told the story of America Project and what it's done and the things that, you know, as he said, we will be studying what we've accomplished over the last 4 years for 250 years of the things that we stopped from happening to America. And I pray he's right. I pray this isn't a speed bump to our tyranny.
Real quickly about Patrick and the America Project, who I work with closely, is they've funded, gosh, I guess we maybe had 30 forums across the country, started here in Reno, Nevada, on 1 December of 2021. And every time they drop 10K here, 10K, 10, boom, boom, they'd fund everything. Never once did Patrick demand to speak. We invited him. He would say yes if we asked. Never once did they demand any sort of accolade. Never once did he or they demand control of the speakers, control the agenda. They just said, hey, here, go do good.
And he did good.
A lot.
And he's in a hospital right now. And we're going to pray for him after the show. Again, we're going to continue to pray for him. I tell everybody that's listening, you need to pray for him. Because he literally has done, I mean, I went after Patrick Byrne about 6 months into this deal because somebody called and said, Patrick Byrne, this and this, this. And I listened. And I was like, Patrick, tell me why you were doing this and this. I mean, I was using them out, and then it took me like 3 months to recover from that mentally. There were so many ops going on where they were trying to separate everyone.
Yep.
And I thought I was smart. And then I found out I wasn't, that I didn't understand politics. I spent the last 4 years getting a PhD in politics. I think I get it now. Right. But here's a guy that, man, he would show up barefoot. He is 100%. Patrick is who Patrick is. You don't like it? Tough shit.
He's a great man. He really is. And people that don't know who he truly is and don't trust him or don't like him, I think they're all going to be very surprised when they do find out someday the incredible sacrifice that Patrick's made for this country. Really an incredible person.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I'll give you the last word. Matt, how can people follow you if you want them to follow you?
Biggest thing is kind of, you know, we filled in for Tina once as a guest host that you have her on her show. We keep her seat warm. I think I had Mark the guest.
Yeah.
But if they want every Monday through Friday with Warren Armour, we are on tap with Pete Penn. It's Joe. It's a closer coming together of tap and Patriot Party news every Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. The guest is the star of the show. Tonight it's going to be Lloyd Brunson.
Awesome. He did some amazing work too. He did what a lot of people couldn't do. So,
yep. Good man right here, Loy. And if anyone doesn't know who Loy is, you need to check him out.
He's been on here several times. Mark, how do people follow you? Do they follow you, Mark? Do they follow you?
Yeah, once in a while.
We should send him over to follow Jovan Pulitzer, I think, instead. Because I heard you had a great interview.
Yeah. My best friend, Jovan.
Jovan is
follow me at well, I really wish Jovan would actually just jump on board and helping us all row the same direction. I think that would be real nice of him. But
he's
Jovan,
a bad player, bro. He's a bad guy.
If anyone wants to follow me, handcountroadshow.org is my website. So it's handcountroadshow.org, all one word. And I'm also Patriot Mark Cook on X. By all means, feel free to follow me. I'm just going to keep plowing through, try to help people understand the environment that we're in and how to get out of this and return elections to the people. But I'll tell you, I got energized a couple days ago after I spoke. I had a mentally disabled individual came up to me and, had some trouble speaking, but got this out. Said, I don't want to be worthless anymore. I want to help save my country. How can I help you do what you do? And this is a mentally challenged person that's doing their best. They see what's going on in the country and they're struggling through their challenges to try to help. And God, that I'll tell you what, that gives me the fuel to keep going for years, hearing something like that from someone in that position. And I am honored to be able to fight for, on behalf of, and alongside any individual, including him. And I will be working with him to do this as well. And all those people that sit there on their couch and just wait for someone else to do something. All I have to say is the time is now. Get off your ass. Give me a call. I got plenty that needs to be done, and we will do this all together as the wonderful American citizens that we are.
Absolutely. All right. I want to thank both of you, Matt, Mark, Helen, if you're there, thank you. And we'll be up at the Copper Queen. We'll put something together here in the future, and we'll get up to Bisbee.
Here, I'll cut this. I don't know if Apollo will like this. If we hit some full screen here, let's say bye to Helen. Sorry, Apollo.
Yeah, that worked not well at all. Apollo can fix it.
We're waiting for him. There he goes. There he goes. There we go. Helen can say goodbye to everyone. And I can't wait to
Mark tried to take over. Yeah, it'll be fun.
We look forward to you guys coming.
All right. God bless you. God bless you all.
God bless you. See you later.
All right. Take care. So I get a little fired up about things, and I'm there's the same tired person named Javon Pulitzer, and he keeps putting stuff out there. And so I just decided that I had enough. I blocked him for a bit, and then I decided I'm not going to block him anymore. I'm going to let him talk whatever trash he wants. He's just a really bad man. He's just a bad guy. And, I'm really comfortable with who I am and what we've been able to accomplish over the last 5 years holistically. And I finally have gotten to the place where I go, you know what? The feds don't have any power over us anymore. But now our only responsibility is to hold ourselves accountable and to hold people that are supposed to be doing good, make sure that they continue to do good. So as we go out, a couple things I'm going to have you do. One, hit the thumbs up button on Rumble. Just hit it on your way out inside. I'm going to go through a couple things about Tesla. And I'm going to tell you what's happening. And this is why I say that we have to stand. Are we our brother's keeper? Is it Elon's job to take all the punches, or are we willing to take punches with Elon? Are we willing to take punches with Tina? Are we willing to take punches with people that are in our community? Are we willing to stand up and be our brother's keeper? 1 John 3:16. Jesus laid down his life for us. So we should be willing to do the same for our brothers. That's a big ask. Are you willing to pick up that sword? Are you willing to take a bullet for your brothers? I would say most people aren't. And I say brothers and sisters because women just seem to have more, how would I say it? What would I say, Jared, if I were to say it? They have more testicle fortitude than most men. Not that men don't have it. So I will say that you have to a mantra. I'll have Sydney on the show. I think I can now. I have Sydney Powell on the show. I talk to Sydney Powell quite often. All right. Here's what they're doing to Tesla, okay? Which is why I'm bringing this up. Last week, somebody burned down a bunch of Superchargers at a station in Boston. Let's go ahead and put that up. Let's play it.
Each charger charred in various shades of black, evidence of the fire that broke out in this Littleton parking lot last night. And the fire chief says these flames were no accident.
At this point, it does appear that it was a set fire.
Around 1 a.m., firefighters were called to Constitution Ave and found 7 Tesla charging stations up in flames. They burned for nearly an hour until electricity was finally cut to the units, a challenge for firefighters.
The electricity is one of our bigger issues that we're dealing with, and making sure that not only the public but the firefighters are safe. So we kept our distance from the charged electrical equipment.
And although investigators won't say what evidence was left behind, they do say it suggests arson.
It's suspicious.
So they burned down buildings. They burned down Tesla stations. They burned down hundreds of thousands of acres. They killed and committed domestic terrorism. They should all be put to death. Every single one of them. They literally should not get, if you burn down entire forests and it costs people their lives, you should be put, the death penalty should apply to you. You said, Joe, that's vengeance. No, it's not. It's consequence. You don't let evil just do whatever it wants. And you don't finance evil for 25, 30 years so they can have a life sitting in prison doing nothing. No, they should get the death penalty. And it's not just, it's terrorism. There's no difference between this and it's terrorism. What they're doing is terrorism. But that's not all. There's these protesters outside the Tesla store that are confessing that they're getting paid. They're actually getting paid to be out there. Play it.
Yeah, I get paid to be out here.
You get paid to be out here?
Yeah.
Amazing. So some pack.
Yeah, you really are getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. 100% I'm getting paid for this.
Getting paid. People getting paid. And if you had any doubts about what you just saw with them getting paid, you're going to have to hear this. This is Valerie Costa, the far left activist behind what's called the Tesla takedown. I personally think that the FBI, Kash Patel, should go in and have her arrested immediately. But she's labeled Elon Musk's Doge initiative as, she's basically a terrorist. Play it.
Val, maybe we could start off with a little bit of, can you just actually tell us what Tesla takedown is? Or
Yeah,
it's not takedown Tesla, it's Tesla takedown.
Tesla takedown. Yeah, there's a website called teslatakedown.com, which is a website you can go to, get some background on the campaign. And it essentially is a map where anybody in the world can put an action up for targeting Tesla. And so I've been involved in that campaign, and in particular, planning actions in the Seattle area targeting Tesla.
In Tesla takedown, there's a spirit out there, which had already, as we saw with Luigi Mangione, there's a spirit which is very anti-corporate, very anti-billionaire, very anti-sort of elite. And Tesla takedown is also tapping into some of that spirit as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would say it's just what I've noticed being involved in organizing in the Seattle area for some time, especially after the election and the inauguration. People were like, what do? We don't want to just waste our energy protesting for the sake of protesting. And especially in Seattle, and I would say on the West Coast, I'm sure it's true of many places, we're really far from the center of power in government. And I think as it became clear that Elon Musk was taking on this outsized role at the federal level, totally, I would say, criminal role nationally, we're like, oh, we can target Elon here because his company, the source of the majority of his wealth, has numerous locations in the Seattle area, and ultimately money talks. And we've planned, whether it was troublemakers or partners that we've been working with over the last few weeks, have planned multiple actions at Tesla.
Tesla takedown. And then here, this just came in. This is this thing called the Indivisible Project, left. It's even left of Stalin. It's an NGO that organizes street protests for the Democrat Party. Now, keep in mind, there are so much dark money out there right now. And they're basically going through and trying to create economic terrorism to tank Tesla stock. Let's go ahead and play it.
he's very rich. He's got control of X. Those are big assets to Donald Trump. But I got to say, how long Elon Musk is going to want to continue to see people attacking Tesla dealerships around the country, lighting Tesla charging stations on fire, painting swastikas on the sides of Tesla dealerships, and seeing the stock price plummet that way, impacting his personal wealth. I don't know.
And then Elon Musk had something to say himself. You're messing with a guy that understands data better than any of you could know. He is the brainchild behind Grok, Super Grok. This is a guy that has unlimited resources to fund and do whatever he wants. A little jealous, actually, if I'm being honest. Because I have one of those minds that, man, if I had a checkbook, what would I do with it? The point is, he wouldn't do anything with it for himself. He'd build something. And that's proven because there's pictures of him that are sleeping on floors inside of empty buildings, that he's dismantling all of this dark money. Elon had this to say just 2 days ago. He said, an investigation has found 5 ActBlue funded groups responsible for Tesla protests, Troublemakers, Disruption Project, Rise and Resist, and Indivisible Project, and Democratic Socialists of America. ActBlue funders include George Soros, Reid Hoffman, Herbert Sandler, Patrick Baumann, and Leah Hunt Hendricks. I'm going to do a deep dive into those people next week. ActBlue is currently under investigation for allowing foreign and illegal donations and criminal violation of campaign finance regulations. This week, 7 ACT senior officials resigned, including the Associate General Counsel. If you know anything about this, please post and replies. Thank you, Elon. It's not just ActBlue, it's also WinRed. Just going to tell you. Peter Berninger, who we had on last week, he's been talking about this stuff for a long, long time. Pretty crazy, huh? But there's more. So much more. And then finally, this happened today, which is going to be really bad for them. So, knowing what I know about the infrastructure of what has to be behind X, Elon put this out. There still is a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day. This was done with a lot of resources. Either a large coordinated group or a country is involved. Tracing. Let me just tell you what that means when he said tracing. When they find out who did it, when you attack a company the size of X, that is an information warehouse, it rises to the level of terrorism in a different level. It basically is, it's like attacking a country. And so the people responsible for that, by all means necessary, could become a Soleimani. They could just go in, guns a-blazing, and annihilate the people that are involved in this. And it would be justified. And you would say, oh, no, it wouldn't, Joe. And I'll be like, look, I'm done. And I'm not saying that they're going to go to violence, but I will tell you that it rises to the level. Elon Musk, regardless of what he has in X and everything else, regardless of all of that, he right now is serving as in function in the government. So you, in essence, are attacking him for the work that he's doing inside the government. He was elected by half of the people in the United States. It's domestic terrorism. And I believe that he's going to be dealt with, these people will be dealt with the same way we deal with terrorists. I at least pray that that's the case. What a great day to be alive, isn't it? The last thing I want to say is this. Work crews are currently dismantling Black Lives Matter Plaza north of the White House, 4.5 years after it was erected. Let's go ahead and put this up. It's about time. All right, let's pray. Let's pray it out. It's gonna be a weird set of events. And frankly, I just want Tina out. And I want to start moving the ball to where we start doing things that constitute pushing evil into the corner, making them scatter. And right now what we're doing is not doing that. All right, let's pray. Apollo, you have anything before we pray? All right, stay tuned for Wayne Allen Root. All right, let's go. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to kind of just work the problem. Thank you for people like Mark and Matt and even Helen standing up during the COVID period. Thank you for the many Americans that Paul reveres that never got a chance to be noticed or recognized for their contribution over the last 4 years that got us to a place where President Trump could be back in office. We're thankful, Father, for the America Project. We're thankful for Patrick Byrne. We're thankful for the people that have stood up and done the things that are necessary in order to help work this problem that we have of the evil that has infiltrated and just rotted out every part of our apparatus. We're thankful, Father, for the opportunity to save a nation and, in essence, save the world. And then to be able to push back on the ridiculous and to stop people from taking over and destroying not just our community, but the world. Father, we ask some special prayers today. One is that you will lift up those that are in need, that you will calm the hearts and the minds of those people that are struggling, that you will heal the sick. And one person in particular is Patrick Byrne, who has gone through so much over the last 40 years. Father, I would just ask that you would stand by him, that you would heal him, that you would infiltrate his heart, and that you would make him a mouthpiece for just the greatness of what you represent, Father, in this restoration. Father, I just ask that you calm the heart of Tina Peters. Give her the ability to have the burdens that she may feel lifted, to stop all the persecution that she has while she's in jail. And that, Father, whatever needs to be done, the Herculean efforts and the courage that it takes and the boldness that it takes to get her out, that we can get that done and get it done yesterday. And that's selfishly what I want, Father, but I think it's selfishly what everyone wants. So we ask that bold prayer that you will make that happen. Father, I ask you to bless those that are in the middle of this fight, that they may not grow weary and that they may have continued courage. And that you will bless them through this entire process, that as they come out the other side, that they may be blessed with things that let them know that it was worth it, that the last 4 years was worth it. I ask these things, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, we will see you tomorrow. Same time, same station. Hit the share button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. You can go ahead and download there. Leave us a 5-star review. Share it with your friends. You are the arbiters of reality, and you are the ambassadors of truth. So please be that. We'll see you tomorrow.